Hello and welcome to Spooky Saturdays with Sampai. First of all, it's light out. After what happened last Friday, I was a little bit creeped out and didn't want to come here and record when it was dark. And literally just like a minute ago, I walked upstairs. Nobody's been in my room. My brother and sister have been asleep all day. The door's open. And it's actually kind of cold in here, so I'm a little like...
Guys, I just got up here and it's open again.
So today we're going to cover the house we lived when we wound up moving to Kansas. We moved from Arizona to Kansas because my great-grandmother had just passed away, and the family they weren't ready to part with the home and sell it to a different family. So they had us take it over. We just lost the car. It broke down on our way back from the funeral. It overheated. Tina wasn't working, and with no way for my dad to get to work, we only had the one car. He couldn't get to work, and we were kind of didn't have anywhere else to go. So we packed all our stuff, not even a year after being in that old house, to moving all the way to Kansas. There were several prayers over the house when we first got there, and it actually was the safest place that I feel like I've ever been. As time passed, it's not like the family didn't care for us, but there was less prayers over the house, and I feel like that kind of played into what happened. I moved to the back bedroom that connects to the back door. In this bedroom, the closet didn't have a door and looked like it was lined with foam, and it had one of those light bulbs that screwed straight into the ceiling, and you have a little chain that you pull on, turn the light on. It was weird to me to not have a door to my closet. Not like there was anything like secret in my closet, but like it was weird to not have a door. And so when I asked why, I found out that the room had once been set on fire, so I guess that's why that lining was up. I guess they just never replaced the door. Like later on, that's where like that was like the kids' playroom, so all the toys and everything were in there. So there really wasn't reason for a door to be there. And there was a couple other horror stories about that closet. One of them being my great-grandmother herself used to be the master bedroom. My great-grandmother herself claimed that one night the devil pulled her by her hair and tried to pull her into the closet. That's not the kind of thing you want to hear about the room that you're gonna sleep in, especially with all the other things that I'd gone through in the previous houses. Like, I've been touched once, and I don't really want to experience that again, so if you could not. As the prayers kind of slowly declined, there took on a new darkness to the house. Of it having to do with, I think, just me being a teenager and angry. Kind of upset that we moved from Arizona, from my friends. I had a hard time making friends. You kind of make all your high school friends when you're a freshman, and I was now a junior in high school, and it was everybody had already kind of set in their ways, and I didn't really belong anywhere. And later on, and I didn't really care. But I think that added to it, or it was just kind of the stress of having nobody to really relate to. Well, I had my cousin. She had work. She was a grade behind me. There's a lot of stuff that played into the darkness, I think, kind of within me that helped spark some of the things that happened. One of the first incidences within the house, I almost didn't quite think was a ghost at first. Now, the way this house is set up is you have the living room. You go back into this little doorway, there's a kitchen, and there's the back bedroom, which has the back door in it. You come this way, there's the master bedroom, and connected to that is the bathroom. And you go down a set of stairs through the bathroom, there's a laundry room, and another door that goes to the garage, which it was mostly used for storage and tools and things like that. We didn't wind up putting our car in there. and then the bathroom is connected to the master bedroom and what became the kids' room. It's like this loop around for the master bedroom, the bathroom, the kids' room, and the living room. And then the kitchen and the back room were off to the back. So I had just come from the bathroom and I was walking through the kids' room, walked through the living room, and in the kitchen I see someone standing over the sink with his hands like this, like looking like he was super stressed out. And at first I thought it was my dad. He had dark hair, but he was too thin to be my dad. He was wearing a blue sweater vest, a white button-up, and a pair of khakis. He almost looked like he might have been dressed for church. And I had no idea who this was, why he was in the house. We had a lot of relatives that would come over not a lot of relatives. We had relatives come over every once in a while, and sometimes they would just like pop up and we didn't know, or I didn't know, oh hey, yeah, or this person's coming over. It's good to know. But that was my first initial thought. Dad? No. Okay, other family member. No. As I got a little bit closer and blinked, he was gone. And I'm trying to recreate this as like a 16-year-old, like how could this be? No, people just don't just like disappear. He didn't run anywhere. I couldn't figure anything out. I don't know who he was, where he came from. I never saw him again. In the house, it seemed like there was a lot of voices and noises that I heard frequently. It was kind of an old house. It was built in the 1920s. It was pretty old, pretty creaky. My grandfather had tried to do some work on it, I believe, where he would repair things for them as things went bad, like the ceiling was originally plaster and I think about a foot or so taller, but as the plaster began to fall down, they just wound up putting in another ceiling a bit lower so that the plaster wouldn't fall anymore. They wouldn't have to replaster. I'm not exactly sure. Oftentimes we could hear plaster, little pieces falling down onto the new ceiling. In a lot of places it drooped, and it got pretty scary there at the end for that roof. There was often voices and noises that I couldn't place, and for a lot of my senior year of high school, I didn't have to go to class every day, just because I had chemistry, and then I could go home. It was first class in the morning, and I got to go home. No, then I had full classes the next day. I was home a lot of the time unless Tina or my dad came home for lunch at like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, which I don't think happened very often. There was a lot of voices and noises that I heard when I was by myself, a lot of them coming from the garage. I don't know if it was just because the space was cold. Like there wasn't any sunlight or anything, so it was like cold. I'm gonna mark here. It just got like a ton colder in my room and I don't know why. I started talking about the garage and it got real cold. So down in the garage seemed to be the place that creeped me out most, and we had a fridge down there. We kept all the cold drinks, so we'd have to go down there to go get sodas, and it was kind of like who's gonna go get sodas today? None of us really liked to be down there. I heard a couple creepy stories about it that I think I'll have maybe my dad share if he wants to. But yeah, the garage was not the funnest place to be. There was one day I came home from school and I went and took a nap. I remember my parents coming home and Tina starting to make dinner. I thought I'll just lay down for a little bit. I had just finished homework or something and I was real tired, so I was trying to take a nap. Well, I intended to just lay down and that didn't wind up happening. I wound up taking a nap and I don't think it had been that long that I had fallen asleep. Maybe 10 minutes. I am woken up to my brother literally throttling me awake, and I woke up because I was like, ow! I wake up to him like throttling me, and I'm like, what the heck? As I'm kind of like zoning back in, Tina's like literally, Sam! And I'm like, what's going on? It was kind of funny in the moment, thinking like, wow, I had really passed out, but I didn't feel my brother doing anything to me. I didn't hear him. He was calling me too. Tina was literally screaming my name. I guess they had been trying to wake me up for a couple minutes, and I was like dead. It was creepy to me because at that point I had started to have sleep paralysis in the house again. And especially with the stories of that room in particular being not so great, it freaked me out kind of after the fact, and as I was kind of taking in how not funny it was. Another night I had started playing my piano. It's like a 66 key keyboard that I had, and I would set it up on my bed and I would play on there. There wasn't really a place to sit in my room. The room was very tiny. I had set my keyboard on my bed and I was starting to play, and I see curtains that were over the closet door kind of move in such a way that I think, oh, Mina's in the closet. Doesn't scare me. Mina goes in and out of the closet all the time. Mina's my cat, by the way. So Mina comes in and out of the closet all the time, so it wasn't a surprise to me. I glanced up, was like, okay, cool, she's in the closet. Continued playing, and Mina walks through my bedroom door. She looks at the closet and walks out. There's no way that anybody is in the room, especially because it was almost a sheer fabric. I would be able to see if somebody was standing on the other side. There are many times that my brother has tried to scare me. It didn't work. You can't see somebody if they're standing on the other side, not to mention the fact that the curtain doesn't go all the way down so you can see their shoes. When Mina came in, looked at the closet and came right back out, I knew something wasn't right. And I had already been super creeped out in that room, and that was the last straw for me. And to prove that I wasn't scared, even though I was, I finished my song, turned the keyboard off, walked out, and never came back in, but to get clothes. I wound up moving out to the living room. That's where I wound up sleeping. I still had some troubles there, and it seemed to me like whatever was in my room would kind of like peek around this little like kind of shelving thing that we had. It wasn't exactly a cart, I don't think, but it was like shelves that you could move. It seemed like it would peek around that at me from the kitchen, and it freaked me out, but it didn't seem like it could get past there. So I wasn't like, this was my safe zone. I was still close to family now, and I was out of there. And I didn't think that it would, like, that's your domain. That's where you can stay. That's where you're going to stay. That's what I thought. I was a bad child. Dad would say go to bed. It was like 9:30. I'm 16. So I stayed up, hid under my blankets, and would still text people until I fell asleep. I always covered my face with my blanket just so nobody could see the light. It was especially bold of me now that I'm thinking back on it, because my parents were, like, my feet were pointed at them. This particular night I had shut the light off, put the covers over my head, and had my text fest. Woke up, and the light behind me, the lamp directly behind me, was on. This wasn't uncommon for the lamp to be on when I woke up, because Tina would walk through the kitchen, start making breakfast. I think she made breakfast back then. Or whatever she would need to do in the kitchen, coffee, something. So it wasn't uncommon for that lamp to be on when I woke up. This particular time, I don't remember if Tina didn't have work, if she was sick, something. The lamp was on, and I found it strange. And my dad came in and asked, kind of, not upset, but like, you're 16. Why are you sleeping with the lamp on? And I kind of just sat there like, I didn't turn it off. I turned it off before I went to sleep. And he kind of shrugged it off like, okay, yeah, you didn't turn it on. I don't know who turned it on. I don't know who turned it on. I didn't turn it on. I turned it off before I went to sleep. Tina hadn't gotten up. For whatever reason, she hadn't gone to the kitchen that day. And after that, it felt kind of like a challenge, like, oh, you thought I couldn't reach you from that room. Well, how about I get as close as I can? And I was freaked out, and I wound up moving into the kids' room where there was a bunk bed. So I wound up sleeping on the top bunk, and nope, never again. I don't think that I had any problems in that room afterwards. Then when I was actually with people, I was fine. One of the other incidences was our dog had passed away, and the night of, we could still hear his claws on the tile, and we could still hear the jingling of his chains. And I don't know if it was trauma, if it was a noise that we just expected to hear, but it went on for about a week where we would still hear those noises, and it felt like he was still there. Sometimes it felt like he would still get up on the foot of my bed and lay there, and I'd wake up, think, this whole thing was a nightmare, he's still here, and he wasn't, nothing was there. I don't think there's a whole lot more that happened in that house to me. By the end of us living in that house, we didn't really, or I didn't really experience anything other than those few things. And the scariest part wound up being for me the fact that there was a couple times where I'd be like dead asleep even though I had just laid down for a nap, and it hasn't happened since then. There are certain dreams that I had where I'm sure that I was asleep and I hear screaming, and I wake up thinking it's Tina, like, there's a roach, there's a spider, somebody's broken in, somebody's dying, and I'd wake up and like frantic, look all over the house, there's no lights on, like, there's no reason for anybody to be screaming, the windows are closed, nobody's outside, it's late, and I was so sure that I heard the screaming. Like, it pulled me out of my sleep because it was so loud, and that never happened anywhere else. There was something similar that I read about a while back called exploding head syndrome, which is the closest thing that I can compare it to. Basically, your head or your mind creates this explosion sound that winds up waking you up. And it seemed quite similar to that. There was no real source of a scream, but I undoubtedly heard one. It woke me up. We wound up moving back to Arizona after 2 years of living in Kansas. They were finally ready to let the house go, and packed up all our stuff, and Tina and I moved first. We stayed with my grandmother and found an apartment, and this apartment taught me quite a bit of things, and there's quite a bit of stories from the apartment, so much so that I might be able to split it into two separate videos. Finally fixed the thing with the paranormal YouTube. So I'm going to try and work on that, hopefully in the near future. Put a link to that probably in the Spooky Saturday or vlog or whatever video comes first, or post it on my social media if you follow any of that. If you don't follow any of that, it's linked down in the description. That's it for Spooky Saturdays with Sampai. I'll see you next time.